Let's talk about West Bromwich Albion, relegated yesterday. It was kind of inevitable, really. I did see that Sam's quotes afterwards. He's talking about how the players should have got themselves into a better position and all that sort of stuff. And I think that he's had some shocking results while he's been there. So I would have preferred it. I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line he'll be.
He's had some good results as well. That's the amazing thing about it. He's actually had some good results.
He hasn't had enough good results. And it's okay winning 5 at Chelsea when they've had an off day, but when you lose 5 at home to Leeds as well, they just haven't picked up enough points. And I think he's been there long enough to save them. He just hasn't won enough games. So his plan didn't work when it's worked everywhere else. He's had a really good player in Pereira, but there's a bigger picture with West Brom. And I did ask this 5 years ago. You can find it on Twitter if you want to take a look. It was August 2016. I asked the question, what's the point of West Brom? And a lot of West Brom fans, understandably, got very upset about it. And once they dried their eyes, they realised what I was asking. Is there a strategy at West Bromwich Albion? Is there a plan in place? Because it all seems to be so knee-jerk. Oh, we're not winning games. Let's fire Darren Moore. Oh, we're not winning games. We haven't won the playoffs. Let's fire Jimmy Shan. Oh, we need a manager. Slaven Bilic, right? He's taken us up. Not doing well in the Premier League. Let's fire him. Let's bring in another Pulis, another Megson, another Pardew, and that's Sam Allardyce. So what is the plan? When it all starts going wrong, just appoint one of those old school managers. Is that the plan at West Brom? What's going on there?
It's to survive in the Premier League. That's what they're searching for.
Well, it's not going very well, is it?
No, but that's what they're searching for, right? I think it's quite obvious, but they're after a manager that can try and keep them in. Because they are the yo-yo club, aren't they? They get relegated more than anyone else. They come back up, they get relegated. So they're trying to find a manager that can. I don't think they expect to get in the Europe places. I think they just want to be a Crystal Palace. That's what they probably are looking at and think that's where we want to be. They want to be where Wolves are at this moment in time and try and stay in the Premier League because that's where the money is. That's where all these clubs want to be. They know they're not going to be good enough to win something, but to stay in it where the money's at is what these clubs are aspiring to be. And
okay, that's fine. That's fine. To stay in it is at this point, because they don't stay in it, is a fair ambition. But they're going about it the wrong way. This is 5 times they've been relegated now. So what is the point of West Bromwich Albion? What is the strategy? What could they do to make it better? And I look at the recruitment of managers, and when they think they've got it right in the Championship because they go on and get promotion with Slaven Bilic, then everything's fantastic. As soon as it starts going wrong, he's gone. And then what's the plan? There seems to be no even mid to long-term thinking.
They don't get the players they need then to survive and that step up. And it's similar to Norwich, Norwich came up that they thought they could do it with the same players. It's difficult. You have to go and do it right. Yes, they've gone back into the Championship. They kept the same players.
And manager.
And manager. They've been absolutely excellent. They come back up. Now, it's going to be interesting the way they go about it now, whether they use that experience of getting relegated, coming back up, and they think the players are good enough to keep them in the division, or they do add a couple of experienced players to that group. I'll be interested to see what happens now with Norwich and Watford. I know Watford have changed managers again anyway, and they'll be looking for other players to strengthen their squad as well. Because are they going to be good enough to survive in the Premier League? They don't want to be that up down sort of club, because they've got an advantage, haven't they? They go into the Premier League, they have got the advantage of that parachute payments coming down to come straight back up.
That's fine. It's what they do when they come up. I mean, and if Sam doesn't stay, well, if he does stay, I will still wonder what the strategy is, because they're expecting him to establish them in the Premier League in the longer term. And if they make an appointment, what's that appointment going to be? When you look at the clubs that they're trying to emulate, you talk about Wolves, you could look at Leeds as well. We'll see how their second season goes, but so far, so very good. I think
it's more like Palace, the way they play. Let's be fair to it. I think it's more saying that Palace have got 2 players that are quite outstanding with the ball at the feet, haven't they?
Can you not change the way you play, though?
Well, I think
Leeds
Sam
did.
Well, I think Sam tried to, didn't he? But too late. I think Newcastle changed their style of play, and it just got it at the right time. You look at the teams that have struggled this year. Now, you thought Fulham would be that attacking side, flair, but he changed that, and he tried to make them defensively tight, winning by 1 goal, too many draws. And you look at the teams that are down there, realistically, over the season, they've been defended. They've just tried to defend. Sheffield United, West Brom, Fulham, Newcastle were down there. And the ones that are going to sneak out of it Newcastle realised, but they were going down playing that way. Brighton, who have, play on the front foot, they look to try and score goals. Southampton, although they've lost too many games, at least try and play some kind of football. So they've managed to play themselves out of it by getting wins. Unfortunate thing for these teams, they've been losing too many games by trying to defend and not backing themselves.
So West Brom, for me, are a club with a fantastic fan base. They've got a history, and I think a lot of the what's great about their history is some of the terrific players they've had over the years. I'm talking decades ago. They've had some truly amazing footballers, memorable footballers down the years. Now, don't they want to establish themselves in the Premier League? Why isn't that happening? Why do they keep getting relegated? Why does it keep going wrong at West Bromwich Albion? You tell us. 08717 2233. Anyway, West Brom. What's the point of West Brom? Already, unsurprisingly, somebody's been upset by that question. Can you believe it? In fact, they've not listened properly. I said, what's the point of West Brom when they keep going up and down? Is there a long-term strategy? Somebody has tweeted, Hal has tweeted, what's the point of the EFL? What's the point of Peterborough? Well, if West Brom are pointless, we may as well give up on promotion and relegation and bring on the ESL. I haven't said West Brom are pointless. I'm asking, what is the point when all they're doing is going up and down and not having an impact in the Premier League? No long-term strategy. So what's going on?
I think that would be the question. I think you've got to ask it, and it's the right question to ask, purely because only Birmingham have had more top-flight relegations than West Brom.
Yeah.
They've had 12, West Brom have had 11. So there's got to be a reason for it. So what is it? Use your brains, the West Brom fans, and tell us, what would you like to see? Who would you like to see come in? What strategy do you want them to see? It might take 1 or 2 years. Or is it all about going straight back up, like Watford had done, like Norwich had done?
As in, you go up, and then it doesn't matter if you go down because you get a parachute payment, and then you go up again because you're in a strong position.
Because what you don't want to do is be like some other clubs who have gone down, and then they get dragged down again. If you look at clubs like Huddersfield, you know what I mean? You don't want to be like, or even Sheffield United when they went down the last time, or Leeds. You don't want it to be that long before you come back into the top flight.
Effectively, what we're saying is the fans deserve better, so don't get upset about it. I think you'd actually agree, wouldn't you? Alistair's a West Brom fan. What do you think? You're on talkSPORT.
Hi lads, how are you?
Very good, mate. Good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I listening intently what you was trying to say, and I understand where you're coming from, but it comes down to financial budget, really. I mean, if to be honest with you, Slaven Bilic, I wasn't the biggest fan of. If you look in 2020, the actual as a year rather than the seasons, we would have been 77th out of 92 league clubs for the year 2020. We started brilliantly. We had a lot of points that we gained. I think we're 51 points after 23 games, and we finished with 82. So that tells you that something wasn't quite right on the or off the pitch before the end of last season. And I think if the board had had the time over again, and I know you're probably thinking ridiculous thing to say, but the rot had set in, we limped over the line. We should have got rid of Bilic earlier, and I genuinely believe, I've been a season ticket for a long time, if Sam Allardyce would have had more time, we were undoubtedly the unfittest team in the league. It took him 8 to 10 weeks to get the team anywhere near fit. And then with the addition of the 4 players, it's too little too late. But I do think you talk about long-term sustainability. We need to keep him in for next season at all costs for me. And I think that
has he impressed you that much, Alistair?
I think the way that we play football. I think look, we had a very, very unbalanced squad, Adrian. We went into the Premier League with no defensive midfielders whatsoever, and that's one of the most, if not the most important position. We went in with 8 wingers, no defensive midfielders, and not a forward. Carl Grant we signed basically on a mortgage from Huddersfield, £2 million a year for 6 years or whatever it was. But he's not a centre forward. He's played off the left. So until the transfer window, we didn't have a defensive midfielder and we didn't have a centre forward. Now that's not Sam Allardyce's fault. And for me, he's made that team competitive. To even get that team, I've been watching football a long time, especially West Brom. To even make that team anywhere remotely competitive, he's done a good job.
Well, you did. When did Charlie Austin go to QPR? You had Charlie Austin. He's a striker. He scored goals.
He's finished. He can't run. You need to run in the Premier League. He can't run. He'll tell you himself. His knees a shot. As a finisher, if you've got the chance, if you give Charlie Austin chances in the box, he'll score your goals. But we don't have the ball enough. Our forwards need to work as part of a team. You can't have the fox in the box because we don't have enough time on the ball. We get an average of 35-40% possession in games. So our forwards need to work as a defender as well. They've got to work when we haven't got the ball. So yes, Charlie Austin's a goal scorer, but I don't think he would work in a bottom 3 or 4 team. He works in a top half of a championship team because you get the ball more and you get the ball in the box more, which means he'll score goals.
Interesting.
I think me and Ed kind of agree, don't we? But they probably did hang on to Bilic just slightly too long.
Yeah, we won one game.
Won one
December,
game and not got rid of him until December. I think that one victory they got against Sheffield United, wasn't it? In late November, probably kept him on for another 2 or 3 weeks, which was probably the wrong.
The only thing with that is they did. They drew with Liverpool, didn't they? And everybody knew he was going, and they drew with Liverpool. They drew with Man City away as well.
But people were beating Liverpool.
True, yeah. Well, they were after that. I think that was one of the earlier ones. But they drew at Man City. It was the Man City one was his last game.
Yeah.
They drew there, and then he went. Then they drew at Liverpool with Sam in charge. And then they got battered by Leeds at home. And I think at that point, Sam's realising, this is a way bigger job than I thought. Yeah. Let's speak to Rob, a West Brom fan. How you doing, Rob?
Well, good lads. Great show.
Cheers, mate.
Basically, I just touch on what the last caller says. I totally agree with what you're saying. That Billy should have gone a lot earlier. I think what's the problem this season has been the business at the start in the summer. You know, bringing in players like Kid Pratt from Wigan, who hasn't even kicked the ball, Branislav Ivanovic, who's a lot past it. I mean, I know I listened to talkSPORT at the start of the season, and a lot was made of Grady Diangana, and all West Ham fans crying they'd lost it. I bet they're laughing in their hands now. They've got nearly £20 million for him. I mean, don't get me wrong, he'll be a good player, but you need players who are going to come and do it in the Premier League. And he hasn't even got a sniff, Gonzalo does. And I think where it's gone wrong in terms of why we've become a yo-yo club and that, I think it's down to the board making wrong decisions in key moments. I think to go back to Tony Pulis here, that when they sacked Tony Pulis, to sack Tony Pulis and bring in Alan Pardew, I did not see any point in that at all. You either have to get rid of Pulis at the start of that season and start fresh, or you give Pulis till the end of the season. I mean, but I don't understand that. That's where I think the Albion has gone wrong, mate, to be honest.
I think you've got a point in that every step of the way, all those appointments and changes they've made, it's been a bit of weird timing. I mean, Alan Pardew stayed in the job a long, long time and could barely register any points, never mind a win. And then when they're fourth in the Championship, Darren Moore goes, and you're thinking, hang on a minute, what do they think? They've got a divine right to be top 2. This is the Championship. This is the Championship. It's not easy. Steve has said, wouldn't it be a good project for Frank Lampard, West Bromwich Albion?
Yeah, I said that to you in the break, didn't I? I think that's that. If they're going to rebuild and going to do it slightly different, but it might take more than one season. So they've got to be prepared for that. Are West Brom fans prepared to spend 2 seasons in the Championship? It'd be interesting what they think. Or do they think, especially in these times, remember, we've got a pandemic coming on. Financially, a lot of clubs have been hit badly, and to get relegated in that a season when it's taken hold, without fans in, it's going to be even harder. So they should have even more of an advantage because they've got those payments coming down to the club to take back into the Championship.
True story. That was Steve on Twitter. Ashley on Twitter. West Brom should take a leaf out of Brighton's books. There may only be a few places higher, but with Potter, you could see they have a strategy. That's what we're talking about, a strategy. The previous caller said Charlie Austin's knees have gone. He'll tell you himself. So I've just texted Charlie. Will you tell us yourself that your knees are gone? What do you think his answer is going to be? I think there's life in Charlie Austin. You seen him at QPR? Flipping heck. Scored at the weekend as well. Amazing.
He's a goal scorer, isn't he?
He doesn't just stand there and do it. He runs and he scores. I think he's a little bit better than that.
You've just got to manage his training.
Is he a better goal scorer? Is he a better goal scorer than what West Brom have got? Absolutely. So I was surprised he didn't get a chance, but there you go. This is talkSPORT.